Hey, welcome to Ride Along. Today we are reviewing the 2020 Ford Explorer. If you're not familiar with my channel, this is Ride Along. Ride Along is a 360-degree car review show. And if you haven't noticed by now, what I mean by 360 is that you can look all around the car. If you're watching on computer, just click and drag on the screen and you'll be able to look around. If you're watching on your phone or a tablet, then you can use the gyroscope inside to look around, but a much easier way is just use your finger to point and drag. You can look all around the car. So today I will be showing you the ins and outs of the Explorer, and you know what? Let's get right to it. Yes, this is the 2020 Ford Explorer. Now, the 2020 model may not look much different than the 2019 model, but I assure you that there are differences, which I will be covering in this video. Now, when you're selecting a Ford Explorer, there are 4 different trims that you'll want to select from. You have the XLT, you have the Limited, the ST, and the Platinum. Now, there are a few differences here and there. This particular model is the XLT, and we have a 4x4 package on this one. Now, I guess you're wondering, with this car, what kind of price point are you going to be expecting? Well, starting with the XLT, you'll expect to hit around $36,000, kind of the mid-range, $36,675 to be specific. And then up to the high end, which is the Platinum, you can expect to pay about $58,000, a little above, but that's the starting price point. Now, if it were me, I'd go with the mid to higher end personally, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. This particular model though, the XLT with the 4x4 package, runs $42,500 about. So as we're looking through this particular model, just keep that in mind, that that's about how much you'll be paying. Now, without further ado, let's look under the hood and see what this car has to offer. Underneath the hood here, we have Ford's EcoBoost technology. Now this is a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder engine, and it's putting out 300 horsepower. That's also with 310 pounds of torque, which is respectable for a 4-cylinder engine. So that means that you'll be able to tow if the car is fitted for it well enough. Now, if you have the ST or the Platinum, you're going to have the 3-liter V6 engine, which would be my personal choice, just because, I mean, it's a V6, you get a little more power, and I don't know, I just feel like it would be a little more smooth of an engine. I'm not a huge fan of the 4-cylinders. That being said, different makers are doing great things with the 4-cylinder engine, especially because right here you've got a turbo booster on it. Now, with all of the Explorers, all the trims, you have a turbo on the engine. The lower end models, the XLT and the Limited, will have a turbo. And then once you get into the ST and the Platinum, they both have a twin turbo, unless you go with the hybrid, which the hybrid engine will have a 3.3 liter engine. And that is a V6 paired up with an electric motor. So you're gonna be saving on fuel, but you still get a good amount of power out of the engine. Now, as far as fuel economy is concerned, this particular car is rated at 23 miles per gallon. That's 20 city, and on the highway about 27. Today, as I've been driving it, I've been averaging about 19 miles per gallon, but I mean, I've been testing out how well it can accelerate and whatnot, so of course that's going to cut into the miles per gallon here. Now, in regards to towing, as I was talking about a little bit earlier, if you are equipped enough for it, if you have the towing package installed on your car, then the XLT or the Limited with the 2.3 liter engine will be able to tow about 5,300 pounds. If you go into the ST or Platinum range, that goes up an additional 300 pounds, so you'll have 5,600 pounds you can play around with, which is a good sized boat you can pull, but not a huge boat. So keep that in mind, that it can tow, and it will likely be able to pull most of the toys that you would like to use. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the 2020 model is pretty similar to the 2019 model. However, a lot of stuff has been put underneath the body to be essentially a brand new vehicle, more new than the 2019, of course. Now, they have installed a new powertrain on this vehicle, so that's going to improve your handling. It's going to improve the all-around experience of driving the car. But yeah, underneath, it's completely different. It's like the 2019, just different personality a little bit. Now, there are a few brand new interior features with the car, as well as some convenience features that you should be aware of. One of the nicest things, every trim comes standard with keyless entry. So you touch the handle, it'll unlock the car for you. When you're walking away from the car, it has touch to lock as well, which is amazing. Now, some of you who are already familiar with the Ford Explorer or even the Ford Expedition are already familiar with the keypad entry onto the car. Now, if you have a 4-digit code, you can get into the car if you don't have your keys or whatever, but this feature has been on the Explorer and on the Expeditions for quite some time now, so nothing too new, but just so you're aware, it is there. The styling, just like last year, is nice. I like the hard lines. It's very nice. As far as getting into the car, the XLT here does have the motorized tailgate, so you can get into your cargo space here, and then it is also motorized down. If you go up to the Limited, the ST, or the Platinum, you even get the opener that is proximity with your foot if you want to open it up that way. XLT here, it's not an option, so don't need to worry about that if you have the base model. Other than that, though, there are some interior features that are new, as I mentioned. So let's get inside the car and we'll take a look at them. Now, as a driver, I promise you're going to be comfortable. The driver's seat and the passenger seat are they're very comfy seats. Can't say exactly the same about the mid row and the back row, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. They're not bad. Don't worry about that. But as the driver, you're going to be comfortable. It's a very good seat. Now, the material in the XLT that you'll find on the seats is Ford's Active X leather. It feels like leather. It's comfortable. One thing about this particular model, where are my seat heaters? There's no seat heater in here. And that's just because this model doesn't have the comfort package. If you're gonna get the XLT, get the comfort package. I can't emphasize that enough. With the comfort package, it comes with heated seats, comes with a heated steering wheel. Not really necessary, but I promise you, once you try a heated steering wheel, it's nice. Now, this is all assuming you live in northern states where you actually have a winter. But yeah, so the comfort package, it comes with those two things. It also comes with windshield wipers that actually melt the snow or ice, which is great. Didn't even know that was something that existed, but that'd be a wonderful thing to have in the winter. And then it also includes heated seats for the second row for your passengers in the back. So you've got that to consider, and that's amazing. In terms of space, the headroom that you'll have up front is about 40.7 inches. So if you're tall, you'll be fine. You're gonna fit. It's an SUV. You'll be comfortable. That's as much as I can really say. As for legroom, you've got 43 inches that you're working with. So again, I feel like comfort was the main focus here when Ford was making the Explorer. So nothing really to worry about there. Let's talk about the technology. Here, you'll notice we have the 8-inch touchscreen, the Infotainment Center here. It's responsive. I've noticed that it does pretty much everything you need right away, which I really like. I do notice that when the Infotainment Center and other vehicles are not that responsive. In fact, in my own car, it takes a minute for it to register what I'm doing on the screen. Now, the car is Apple CarPlay ready and Android Auto ready. Ford has been very friendly with all of the different phone brands, so nothing to worry about there if you're worried about your tech connecting. In terms of phone, wallet, and keys, you've got cargo everywhere throughout this car. I have noticed, at least in this model, that there are not a whole lot of USB ports, but this does have a USB-C port. So that's cool. They're future-proofing the car. Not that really USB-C is necessarily the future. I feel like it's already arrived, but I haven't seen that in any other models just yet. So the fact that they have included the USB-C is great for any of the future tech you're going to have that might only rely on USB-C as opposed to USB 3.0. And then, of course, you've got your 12-volt car port there. You've got another 12-volt down here in the center console. Funny little fact with the brand new Explorer, you open up that center console, it smells like Walmart new. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Walmart where they have the bikes or the car parts, take a sniff. Smells new, but it's unique to Walmart. Something I've noticed. I don't know if that's weird. Now, when you are driving, you also do have your knob shifter here. If you're going to go reverse, neutral, or drive, you've got the wheel to select that. You also have the drive mode button down here. There are 7 different drive modes for whatever kind of terrain you're going to be encountering. If you're going to hit snow, they've got that. Sand, like deep sand, is an option. I guess if you're running on the dunes with this thing, it'll handle that. And then, of course, you've got rocky terrain and all sorts of other terrain that you can select from. Sport mode, eco mode, the whole shebang. So just be aware, if you need the car to drive a certain way, you probably got it. Okay, let's look at the rest of the seats here, and then we'll take the car for a ride. Now, in terms of cargo space, if you have the third row up, you're going to have about 18.2 cubic feet that you'll be working with. If you lower the third row down, like what I have here, you get an additional 47 or so cubic feet of storage. Now, the second row can also be lowered for even additional storage. If you have little trinkets or something, maybe a first aid kit that you want to store, you have little side compartments, plus another cubby compartment here for whatever you need. Now, you can use these in any way, shape, or form to help build a wall. Obviously, I'm not very good at what I'm doing here, but this option is available if you want to get creative with how you're going to be storing your things. Now, your passengers back here in the middle row, they're going to be pretty comfortable. In terms of space, you have 40.5 inches of headroom to work with. In terms of legroom, of course, that changes based on where the passenger and driver seats are, but you get about 39 inches of legroom. These middle seats here, they do adjust, so all the way up. You go back though, you've got legroom, so nothing to worry about there. They can also choose their own climate back here, so if they're cold or warm, you've got the center console here that provides those controls for your passengers. Of course, you've got your USB ports, both USB and USB-C, as I pointed out in the front, and then your 12-volt outlet there as well. Now, this is not a 3-pronged outlet like we've seen in other cars, but it is your basic car port that you can plug kind of older devices into. I haven't actually seen that plug for quite some time. I've just used USB. So anyways, your middle row passengers, they'll be comfortable. Let's take a look at the back seat. Now, the third row back here is probably my biggest pain point of this car. There's not a lot of leg room that you're going to be working with. Headroom's okay, you're not really going to bother with that too much. But leg room, you've got about 32 inches of leg room, plus it's elevated. I really don't like it. It feels cramped back here. If you're not going to have people on the third row, don't worry about it. If you've got little kids, don't worry about it. They've got little legs. But if you have adults back here, I mean, it won't be the most comfortable ride of their life. Also, if you'll notice these headrests here, they clearly get in the way of the rear view. Again, not a huge issue. You can keep those lowered if you want. And then that way they're not obstructing your view if you're looking through your rear view up front as the driver. So there is that. I think Ford took that into consideration, and it's fine. You don't really even use headrests that much, I feel. But regardless, it's a little cramped back here. There's also a lack of amenities. There's no USB ports back here. You've got cup holders, and you've got anchors here for securing down precious cargo, such as car seats or whatever, but I'm not sure why you'd have a car seat in the very far back row. Regardless, it's a little cramped. And that's really what I have to say about the third row. All right, let's get this car on the road. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when looking at the engine, this is the 4-cylinder. It's the 2.3 liter. So you're working with kind of a tiny engine. Like I said, though, it does have 300 horsepower thanks to a turbo that's installed. So there is that. My not one complaint, but a complaint that I have, turbos are good. They help out a lot, but they do take just a moment to kick into gear. So I've noticed as I am driving down the road and I need to hurry and make a maneuver, move over into the lane or whatever, but I need to speed up for traffic, it takes just a little bit and I start to panic. I start thinking, go, 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 go. But it just hesitates a little bit. So turbo coupled with the 4-cylinder, it's a decent engine and they've put good power into it. It just takes a minute. Adds a little panic there. That being said though, as I mentioned earlier, I'm comfortable as the driver. It is a very comfortable car. As you're maneuvering, as you're turning and going through gutters and whatnot, it cradles you. It keeps you nice and steady, and I gotta say, I like it. I do. I'm not sure why it's not doing it right now, but typically when you stop at a red light, it does have the auto start, auto stop feature where it cuts the power to your engine while you're idle. So that does help with saving a little bit in your fuel efficiency. A nice little feature that the car includes. While we're on the subject of the engine, I do have to say I'm not a huge fan of the 4-cylinder. I've been noticing as I've been driving more and more 4-cylinder cars with turbos that they're good, and what companies have been doing to make them more efficient is impressive, for sure. But if I'm going with a car this size, personally, I have to go at least with the V6. So that means I'm sticking with either the ST or the Platinum model. As we talked about earlier in the pricing of the cars though, once you get up into the ST range and you go up to the Platinum, you're dropping about double the amount of money you would on the XLT model. So that is something to consider. Personally, it's a bit of a hit on the car. The upper range models are quite pricey, and you're not getting a very different car. So keep that in mind while you're looking at it. Safety is another big thing when selecting a vehicle, and the nice thing about the Explorer is that the safety features, a lot of the main ones actually come standard across all the trims. So with that, you get the Ford Copilot 360. What that includes is blind spot detection. It includes adaptive cruise control, so it'll adjust your speed as people in front of you adjust their speed, which is great. I haven't had that in any of the cars that I've owned, so that'd be a wonderful feature to have. And it also has lane keeping assist, which is amazing. If you start to drift out of the lane, it doesn't blare at you. You don't get any of those annoying loud alarms that say you're leaving your lane. Instead, it's almost as if you feel the spirit of Henry Ford come in, grab the steering wheel, and bring you back into center lane. A little creepy, I guess. It's nice though. I really like that. If you do decide to upgrade to the Ford Copilot 360 Assist Plus, you get a few other nice features that really improve the safety of your car. So keep that in mind, that safety is a big thing. This car does have a 4 out of 5 star crash test rating, so respectable and safe. So what are the pros and the cons of the car then? Pros, very comfortable ride. As I mentioned earlier, when you're maneuvering, it's just solid and smooth. You're going to be comfortable as a driver, nothing to worry about. The other pro, as I was just talking about, safety features. You've got a lot of really good standard safety features that I'm a huge fan of. I apologize about that, son. It's in a terrible position. But yeah, it's just, you've got a lot of great things going for the car here that I think you should consider. As for the cons, well, the main one is as you get up into the higher price range trims, the price significantly rises. I mean, it is a big jump. When you're going from the XLT base up to the Platinum, the price essentially doubles after all is said and done. When you get the packages you want, it gets up there. So, I mean, that's something that hurts a lot for me personally when looking at a car. Not to say that the higher end packages shouldn't be more expensive, but I mean, it's a jump. It gets expensive. So if you're on a budget, I guess there's kind of an option to have a very budgeted base model. The other con that I was talking about earlier as well is the 2.3 liter engine. It feels a little jittery, and I just feel like the V6 would be a lot more smooth. It also has the twin turbos on the V6, so I don't know. I like more horsepower, but I also like a little more smooth acceleration in the vehicles. And the V6 is going to offer that just because you do have a little more stable, natural power with the V6, as opposed to the 4-cylinder that you'll find in this one. Which then leads me to my final verdict of the car. The first question I'll ask is, would I personally buy the car? If you're offering the XLT or the Limited, it would take a lot of convincing for me to actually buckle down and buy the car. It's a significant amount of money for an SUV. And so I think if you're looking at the lower end models, do homework. I mean, always do homework when you're buying a car, but personally, it would take a lot of convincing for me to want to get the XLT or the Limited. As for the ST or the Platinum trims, I mean, personally, the ST is the trim that I would purchase if I were going to get an Explorer. You get 400 horsepower out of that engine. I mean, that's awesome. In an SUV, you've got the stiffer suspension. I mean, it is a performance workhorse of a vehicle. So, yeah, I'd go with the ST personally. The Platinum, of course, is going to have all the bells and whistles. It has 360 horsepower instead of the 400 that you see in the ST. But, I don't know, I'd personally go with the higher horsepower and the lower price point with the ST. So, yeah, those would be a little more convincing if I'm going with those. Now, the other question I'll try to answer for you is, why would you buy the Ford Explorer? Well, the main reason I can think of is that it is the Ford Explorer. It has been around for quite some time. It is a tried and true model, so you're not going to have as many quirks or issues with the car. I think that Ford has a lot of them worked out, so nothing's going to be too extremely surprising with the car. That being said, there are going to be a lot of competitors in this field. SUVs right now are extremely popular. Lately, you've had Kia release the Telluride, you've had Hyundai release their Palisade, which I have actually done a review of. So go and check that out if you want to see what they're offering in the Palisade. But I feel like other brands are going to try and be really competitive and probably offer things that you're not going to find in the Explorer. So, I don't know, do a little bit of homework to try and figure out what the best model is for you. But yeah, I think that Ford knows what they're doing here. So, I don't know, dig into it. If you feel that this car is what you need, if you feel like you're familiar with the Explorer, then, you know, you're not going to be too surprised by it. Take a dive. And that wraps up my review of the 2020 Ford Explorer. I hope that this has been a useful review for you. I hope that it's been enjoyable as well. I know it's been fun for me. I like doing this. But if you have any cars that you would like to see in the future, or maybe you have some questions, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Also, if you want to see future videos, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can know when I put a brand new review up. Other than that, this has been Ride Along. It's been fun having you here. I will see you later.